Welcome to Fast Keto. I'm your host, Ketogenic Girl. Did you know that you actually have the option to either be a sugar burner or a fat burner? It's called having a metabolic advantage, as Dr. Ben Beekman would put it. You can actually burn your own stored body fat for fuel. On this show, we talk about ketogenesis, fasting, biohacking, all with the goal of optimal body composition for longevity and having the highest possible quality of life. I hope you enjoy these interviews and solo casts that I present to you, all with this goal in mind. Hey guys, welcome back to Fast Keto. This is an episode I've really been looking forward to recording with Sam Feltham. He is most well known for his 5,000, almost 6,000 calorie a day food experiments that he did several years ago. And he did it to show that he was supposed to gain about 15 pounds doing this for 21 days. And he actually had quite different results because he was doing it low carb, well actually keto. And he also did the same experiment with a high carb, low fat model, and also a few other experiments that we get into today. But I've been wanting to pick his brain about these experiments for a few years now. And we also talk about his upcoming conference taking place in London next month. It is such a fun episode. I really enjoyed having Sam on today, and he's doing some really fantastic work with his charity, the Public Health Collaboration in the UK. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. Now, with that goal of having optimal quality of life in mind, and I define quality of life by the absolute amount of joy that you feel experiencing life, I created something called the 20-Day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. It's the best product that I could possibly create in order to help as many people as possible try keto out for themselves, get into nutritional ketosis or ketogenesis, and become fat fueled. When you become fat fueled, you transition out of that mode of being a sugar burner to being a fat burner, and all these incredible things happen. The first one is you start to burn your own stored body fat for fuel. Now, that's great because a lot of us want to have optimal body composition, less body fat, more muscle, stronger muscle and bone mass. But even if you're not looking to lose fat on your body, even if you're looking just to gain muscle or be strong as you continue to go through life, building muscle and strong bones, keto also helps with that. It's muscle sparing. So whether you're in it for weight loss, fat loss, optimizing your body composition, or just improving your overall energy, your mood, your health, I know I personally have never been happier in my entire life or feeling better in my body. And so much of that comes from being at my optimal goal. I have the highest quality of life for myself that I could have ever imagined because I'm at my ideal body composition. I am living my best life in this body, and I'm making the most of being in this body. So that's why I created the 20-Day Challenge, and it's a program that comes with my meal plans, which are 4 weeks, about 28 days of meal plans. And in there you have shopping lists, full guide to getting into ketosis, testing for ketosis, which is optional if you want to do that. But the coolest thing about it is it also comes with my unlimited support and coaching. So I added this in after I had first created the program because I realized that so many of us have questions when we're starting out a brand new way of life, a new lifestyle. Not only do we have lots of questions, but we also need to have a lot of support. And so I created the 20-Day Challenge because we have a community in there of others who've done the program already, who've gone through it and love being there, love helping out and supporting other people who are joining. And then I'm also there answering your common questions, answering anything that comes to mind while you're trying this out. Do you want to substitute something in the meal plan for something else? Do you want to find a recipe for a certain specific event? Do you want to find what my recommendations would be for ordering off a menu at a certain restaurant? I'm there to help guide you. I know some of these are different kinds of requests, but I'm there to support you in any kind of question that you have doing keto. I love to provide explanations of how different processes work in the body, why ketogenesis works. I love to share any kind of insight and information that I can, and I'm there to be your guide, to be your support. Studies have shown that we get to our goals so much more easily and faster when we have a guide, when we have a friend, a coach, a support person keeping us accountable, keeping us motivated, excited, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm excited to help you get to your goals, get to your best health, because I have never been happier living and enjoying my life and being in my body. I've never had so much body confidence, so much strength, so much zest and excitement for life, and I love helping people experience that for themselves too. You can see dozens and dozens of success stories posted on my different feeds on Instagram, on Ketogenic Girl. There's a section called Success Stories and Testimonials, and you can read through so many different successes that people have had doing the challenge. So I would love to have you join the challenge. Give it a try. There are other options too that can be added on and layered on during the program. I have my phase 2 higher protein plans if you're looking to build more muscle after you've started keto with the 28-day ones. I have build your day ones, no cook plans. I have vegetarian ones. I have all kinds of different versions and add-ons for later on if you decide that you are continuing at this. But what have you got to lose other than stored body fat? Use it for fuel, optimize your health and your body composition today, and go check out the 28-day Ketogenic Girl Challenge at ketogenicgirl.com. Now, onto our show. Sam, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today on Fast Keto. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I know that you're a very busy man with all that you do and all the responsibilities that you have with PHC UK coming up, but I'm so glad that you could take some time to be here with us today, because I have so many things I want to ask you about, especially about your food challenges that you've done and your 5,000 calorie experiment. So we have lots of fun stuff to dig into, but for anyone who is brand new to the low carb space, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background.
It started really in 2010 when I qualified as a master personal trainer from the European Institute of Fitness, and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I thought I was going to change the world right there and then, and started training clients with the usual stuff. And after 6 months, I realised that it wasn't really working. So I was at a bit of a loss. But in 2010, Gary Taubes published his second book on nutrition, Why We Get Fat, and What to Do About It. And I read that and was blown away that I hadn't come across this information before, but it made a lot of sense to me. Having done things like fitness modeling, for instance, and the things that you do in preparation for a photo shoot and things like that, basically, in terms of carb manipulation and things like that. So it made a lot of sense from that aspect. And so I started advising this to my clients, and they started getting results. So I was over the moon, but I was starting to fall out of love with personal training per se, just the one-on-one aspect. I prefer to be in a group environment. So I started some fitness boot camps called Smash the Fat in London. And then about 2 or 3 years later, we were up to about 10 locations around the country. So I was very pleased with that. Then it was in late 2015 that I found myself in a bit of a philosophical quandary, because we were constantly having to re-educate all the clients about what it means to be healthy and how to go about becoming healthier, because we'd be telling them that, you know, you can include things like butter and full fat cheese in your diet, but you should be cutting down on the so-called healthy whole grains. And so I thought to myself, well, we're always going to be battling uphill against all of this. however hard that we try. And the only way that we're really going to sort this out is by changing dietary guidelines from the top. And the only way that you can do that, particularly in the UK, is by setting up a charity or non-profit organisation and try and influence things at the top with both a ground-up movement as well as heading straight to the top and trying to inform them of the work that we're doing. And so in early 2016, I set up this charity called Public Health Collaboration, and we started off with an online crowdfunding campaign where we doubled our target in a month, which was absolutely amazing. And we've been going from strength to strength since then, really, with all sorts of things going on, like our annual conference. We're on the fourth one now, and that's hosted at the Royal College of General Practitioners. And most recently, some of the sugar infographics that are part of our patient information and also healthcare professional information have just been endorsed by NICE, who are basically the organisation that governs healthcare professional guidelines over here in the UK. So that's a big step forward to kind of get some mainstream endorsement. So the future's bright in terms of what we're trying to achieve.
That's really exciting. And if you were just to put out there, what kind of goals do you have with the organization? Do you have sort of 5 or 10-year goals or that kind of thing?
We don't have 5-10-year goals. I think that there's a problem with kind of setting time limits on this because there are so many moving parts with it that it is impossible to say whether something would come about in 5 or 10 years' time because so many things change in terms of who actually supports you and also the political landscape changes quite a lot, and the UK is in quite a bit of a state at the moment with Brexit, so things are hampered a bit politically in terms of that. However, we do have a purpose, and so the purpose is to change dietary guidelines for the better, and starting off with the healthy eating guidelines, but we're also trying to influence guidelines for type 2 diabetes. And we're starting to do that because we've just got endorsement by the organisation that governs the guidelines, and those sugar infographics that we've got are part of the tools and resources for healthcare professionals in the UK now, which is just a massive step forward. But we've still got a little bit to go in terms of having low carb fully accepted. It's generally accepted a little bit, but it's not so explicit in the guidelines, and it's the guidelines that on a daily basis that healthcare professionals refer to in order to advise their patients. And so we need something in black and white to actually have in the guidelines to express that, yeah, you should be one of the options that you can present to your patients is a low carbohydrate diet, and that it's possible to put type 2 diabetes into remission, because there's still a lot of healthcare professionals out there that were taught that it's not able to be put into remission. And so part of our goal as well is to inform healthcare professionals about all of this, the fact that it can be put into remission, and that a low carbohydrate diet is probably the best place to start.
Well, I can't think of a better purpose, so that's really fantastic. Now, I want to talk a little bit more, and we'll come back to some of the speakers who are going to be there, but just for starting out here, I would love to know, and for you to talk about the experiments that you did. Now, you did a 5,000 calorie challenge for 21 days. I think it was closer even to 6,000. It was like 5,700 calories or something for about 21 days. And you did this, I think, was it the first one with a low carb, high fat macronutrient distribution?
Yes, correct. So this was in 2012 and 2013 that I decided to take on these experiments, because I was having a hard time sometimes trying to explain to my clients kind of what's the deal with calories, and is a calorie in terms of food and things like that. And so I decided the only way that I can kind of demonstrate this as a naturally lean person is by trying to gain weight and showing that, you know, if the calorie formula doesn't work one way, it probably doesn't work in the other way. I decided that I was going to eat twice the amount that I usually do, which, as you say, was about 5,700 calories per day. And I do this for 3 weeks. And on this first experiment, I ate a low-carb, real food diet where I was eating, eggs and salmon for breakfast, and it was mackerel at lunch, and then steak for dinner, and kind of, copious amounts of nuts in between. And after 21 days, I calculated my net calorie surplus. So this is after loss of calories from fibre, the protein thermogenic effect, and also any exercise that I did. And I ended up in about a 47,000 calorie surplus over those 21 days. And according to the calorie formula, that should be a weight gain of 6.1 kilograms, which is approximately, off the top of my head, about 14 pounds, something like that. But over those 21 days, I actually only put on 1.3 kilos, which is approximately about 3.5 pounds. And so that was very interesting. But what actually happened to my waist was that my waist went down by 3 centimeters. So just over an inch. So it's rather interesting that I gained a tiny little bit of weight, but my waist actually got slimmer, even though I was technically in a 47,000 calorie surplus. And that's obviously a very interesting observation by itself.
It is indeed. Did you do body composition measurements before?
I did not. On this one, I was really kind of playing this all by ear, but I did it at the end, actually. And what was interesting was that my body composition was the same at the end of this experiment and the start of the next one, which was 3 months later. So kind of going on that logic and reasoning, it's likely that my body composition didn't really change that much, really, which is interesting, considering that I was in a 47,000 calorie surplus.
You were kind of out there to disprove this, calories in versus calories out model, which shows, that there is this metabolic advantage to being in, on low carb or keto because of the macronutrient distribution. A lot of people don't realize that the calories in, calories out really violates the second law of thermodynamics. And it's so cool that we can understand that the macronutrients really make a difference. It's not just the total number of calories. And I love that you actually subtracted the thermic effect of the food and all of that to see what that surplus would have been. And instead of gaining 14 pounds, you gained 3 but lost inches on your waist of fat. So that's pretty remarkable and, very different from what, the expected results would have been. Now, why do you think that happened?
I think it's likely that my hormonal balance was relatively unchanged. That's more than likely the reason. And my body was just able to essentially burn it off with no problems, essentially, because it didn't really have much of a choice. And yeah, it's for the most part, my hormonal homeostasis didn't really change. Right. And so my insulin wasn't high, and so I wasn't piling on the pounds with that, which is exactly what happened on the second experiment. Yeah,
tell us about that. But first, what was the macronutrient distribution when you did the first one?
The first one, I think, is about 5% carbohydrates.
So pretty much keto.
Yeah. It was. I'm fairly certain it was keto most of the time because I was eating nuts. There was quite a bit of fibre in there, so that might have affected things in terms of going into ketosis. But for the most part, I was definitely keto throughout that entire experiment for the most part. Yeah.
Okay, so you did another experiment after that, and what was that set up like?
Yeah, so the second experiment was 3 months later because I wanted to try and kind of, biochemically reset. And so on this experiment, I decided to do low-fat fake food. So it was cereal, and skim milk for breakfast. Then at lunch, it was a low-fat chicken sandwiches, and I think 0% fat yogurt, and things like that. And then for my evening meal, it was a low-fat lasagna and a low-fat garlic bread type of thing. Kind of I'd have snacks in between, whether it be kind of mini pizzas, and also I know it's terrible, and also kind of low-fat chocolate bars and stuff like that. It was, you know what, it was fun for about 3 days. And then I just really started to hate myself. I was just like, oh, this is horrible. So, it was a really, really terrible time, because I was eating again 5,700 calories per day. And again, by the end of the 21 days, and taking away the loss of calories from fiber, then also the protein thermogenic effect, and then any exercise that I was doing. And I did exactly the same exercise in each experiment, just to try and kind of minimize any variability. And I ended up again in a 47,000 calorie surplus. Like if you actually look at the exact numbers, there's a 63 calorie difference, which is about as close as you can get in terms of the variability of things, over 21 days certainly. And again, I should have put on 6.1 kilograms, or about 14 pounds, but I actually put on 7.1 kilograms, which is about 16 pounds. So I actually went over the calorie formula, which was, for a naturally lean guy, it was quite shocking. I literally had a food baby by the end of it. I had a proper tire around my tummy, so I was very displeased at the fact that I could do that in 21 days on this type of food. I'm
sure you've seen the movie that Sugar film, where the main actor there. I know he's a well-known actor in Australia, but he does a very similar experiment. But he does kind of a high carb, low fat, what's considered to be a healthy way of eating, for most part. But what was so interesting, I think, about both your experiments, I know with his, he didn't add any extra sugar. Like all the sugar that he ate was just from, the healthy yogurts and, fruit and fruit juice and those kinds of things. So he didn't go out of his way to add sugar. He didn't have any added sugar. It was just the natural sugars that were already in a lot of the foods he was eating. And I know there was also Morgan Spurlock's experiment with the Supersize Me. And I know he gained about 24.5 pounds. And he went from 11 to 18% body fat doing his experiment, which was about 5,000 calories, I think, for 30 days, but all from McDonald's. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's absolutely shocking, because I did do body comp at the start and the end of this one, and it was from 12 to I think 17, about 17%. Wow. That I went, so that was quite a lot. And then I also did bloods as well on this one. And my triglycerides quadrupled, my HDL went down by a third, and I was just feeling absolutely awful on this one. I started snoring and things like that, which I never do, just feeling really lethargic. And even when I was cycling to work, so that was kind of part of my exercise regime at the time, and I was getting out of breath on my my cycling commute, which is obviously it's just a leisurely cycle. I'm not going for it hardcore. That was really shocking that I was getting out of breath on a leisurely cycle. Absolutely insane. That's amazing. So do you think the major difference for you was like you were saying, the hormonal difference in it, because of the composition of the macronutrients, so the insulin, the fact that a lot of the foods you were eating on a high carb, challenge was very insulinogenic? Yes, definitely. That is certainly what I thought was happening, is that I was very biochemically imbalanced by the end.
And I was just piling on the pounds mostly because of the refined and sugary carbohydrates, which put me all sorts out of whack, along with the hydrogenated oils that are involved with those things as well. So it's just a real recipe for disaster.
So knowing all that you do about nutrition and fat loss and everything, what did you do to go back to your homeostasis after that?
Yeah, so that was really interesting actually. So I kind of did an experiment 2B. So immediately following on from that low-fat fake food experiment, for the next 21 days, I decided that I'd eat at calorie maintenance. So I was trying to keep on the weight that I'd put on. So I was eating about 3,500 calories a day to try and maintain this weight gain, and I tried to do that on a low carb real food diet. So I went back to my usual diet, and so I kind of adjusted it every day in terms of my actual weight at the time, trying to maintain that weight gain. But over those following 21 days on a low-carb real food diet at calorie maintenance. So I should have kept exactly the same weight. However, on this diet, I actually lost 6.1 kilos. So I lost 14 pounds of the 16 pounds that I gained in 21 days by eating at so-called calorie maintenance, which is incredible. The fact that I could eat at so-called calorie maintenance and lose most of the weight that I put on.
And you calculated your basal metabolic rate, I'm assuming,
Yes.
using your sort of body composition, your lean body mass, and then your activity level.
Yeah.
And that's how you came up with the 3,500.
Yeah, exactly. It was a Harris-Benedict equation that I was using. And so it took into account kind of any exercise, and also I accounted for protein thermogenic effect as well. So it was very interesting.
That's amazing. So did you do that for 21 days as well, or how long did it take to lose the weight that you gained?
Yeah, so that 14 pounds of the 16 pounds that I gained, I lost in 21 days. Which is incredible. And it took a couple more weeks to actually lose that last couple of pounds, which I thought was really interesting. But I'm sure that's many people's stories. So I'm sure people can relate to that.
Yeah, I wonder what the reason is. Because I often do posts about that. About sometimes we get really excited when we see people losing 100, 200 pounds. It's an incredible feat. It's also quite a mental challenge, but sometimes it can be very challenging for people just to lose that last 5 or 10 pounds too, that they've been struggling with their whole life. And I don't know what it is about that weight that seems to be, quote unquote, stubborn.
Yeah, just that stubborn last 10 pounds really, for a lot of people, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of theories out there, I think, and kind of a set point and things like that, or just the fact that your body's wanting to hold on to that last little bit for some reason, just in case, or you just need to be at a certain kind of biochemical balance for a certain period of time for your body to be ready to say, okay, see you later.
Those both make so much sense, especially that your body would, just out of survival. I mean, so much of our, metabolic processes and just our overall biochemistry are governed by survival, just maintaining our basic survival instincts and the body wanting to have a little bit of stored energy on it, whether that's, 10 pounds or whatever that is in percentage for a different person. Maybe for you it was, just a few pounds, but yeah, it makes sense. The body would that's why it's storing it, right? Is for when you need it, when you might need
exactly
it.
That.
Now, what was the 5,000 calorie meat, egg, and cheese trifle challenge?
Oh, gosh,
Tell us about that.
I kind of forgot about that. So I really can't remember why I set this challenge for myself, but I decided that I'd make this basically this, low carb savoury trifle challenge and see if I can eat 5,000 calories in one sitting, which I did not. It was exceedingly difficult because that's the other thing, going back to my self-experiments actually, was that on the first one, I was very satiated. I really struggled in the evening to finish all of the food. I mean, I did. You kind of just force it down, but I was really struggling to get it down. But on the second one, with all of the fake food, it was easy as pie. You know, I
Wow.
probably could have kept on eating, which is horrendous.
So I want to tell you about a brand new company that I just found out about called eMeals. What they do is offer a service that makes it a little bit easier to follow any kind of lifestyle. They've been doing it with paleo for a while and with other kinds of diet and lifestyle, and they just launched a brand new one for keto. So what they do is they have a keto plan which includes dietitian approved meals and targets the right macros for you. And the meals are easy to make and taste amazing. What happens is each week you get 7 dinners, 1 breakfast, 1 lunch, and 1 dessert. And that connects directly to a smart shopping list with online grocery pickup and delivery options. And that saves you time and money. So the meal plan directly connects to the shopping list, and you can go through this app that they have and pick out meals that you like, recipes you like, kind of customize and build your meal for the week. And it will take that, send it to your local grocery that does deliveries, and the groceries will show up at your door. And then you have the recipes in the app that you can make meals from during the week. So I think they offer a really great service. It really enables you to save time and money because of being directly connected to your local grocery store with this smart shopping list. It's a subscription-based app, and you also get access to other bonus collections of keto recipes from different keto authors and other influencers in the space that specialize in the keto space. 4-week keto is all you really need to maintain a ketogenic diet on their easy-to-use platform. So go to emeals.com/keto today, and you'll get a 14-day trial if you want to test them out. That's emeals.com/keto, and check them out. Let me know if you like the service, what you think of it. If it's something that you found helpful for you, I would love to know. So be sure to go check them out. I definitely recommend this as a fantastic app and service. Yeah, that is such a good point that you bring up, especially because of the difference in nutrient density, that it, when I watched your video on the, the meat, egg, and cheese trifle, and you had almonds on there, and I was like, that is so nutrient dense. Like, just looking at it, I was like, there's no way I could take down more than like a quarter of that, and I can eat a lot. But then when you think about, polishing off a whole pizza or anything, it seems so much easier. And that's really fascinating that you found it really easy to eat that much, with that low nutrient, low amount of nutrients.
All of the bliss points that are being, targeted at your mouth. It was really easy just to eat all of that fake food, which is absolutely horrendous. But yeah,
I saw a really great chart that I've saved over the years that was in Michael Ead's book, Protein Power, and they combined different macronutrients, because we know that fat stimulates insulin, the least of all the macros. All foods stimulate insulin, but fat is the least, and then carbs is quite a bit. And then protein does stimulate insulin, although it's markedly higher when you're on a standard American diet or high carb, low fat versus when you're doing low carb, I'm sure, as you all know. But what I found fascinating is there's one macronutrient combination that had the highest insulin spike of all. And it was when high carb and low protein were combined. And then you look at the formula behind all of our major fast food, whether it's even a sandwich is high carb, low protein, a burger is high carb, low protein, pizza is high carb, low protein, and fat is in there as well. But all of those must be causing tremendous insulin surges. And it's bizarre that it is this, that high carb, low protein would have an even higher effect on insulin than just a high carb on its own. And I find that really interesting that it's those combinations. And it sounds like you were eating a lot of those kinds of foods when you did that challenge.
Oh yeah, certainly. It was full of that, really, and pretty shocking results. And yeah, I mean, the human body is an amazing machine, but we thought that we knew how it worked from the 50s to the 90s, but it turns out that it takes quite a long time to understand something that evolved over a couple of million years. So
right.
Yeah, we should probably be a bit humble in our opinions of how things exactly work. So yeah, I think we've still got a lot to learn, but I think we've got some of the fundamental basics in terms of how the body reacts to different foods.
But I really admire you for doing these food challenges, because some people make light of N=1 experiments, because it's just one person, and yet data really is an aggregate of N=1 put together, and sometimes it takes someone daring to try something outlandish to show very visually. I mean, you can see in your videos and everything that you documented what happened. I think with you, as you said, you had hormonal balance, so you probably barely gained anything, even though you had 47,000 extra calories. And obviously your metabolism revved up a bit, so it's interesting also to see how that happened. But I really admire you for doing those experiments, because I think it is important for people to encourage people to try different things to find out what's going to work best for them and to learn about their bodies.
Oh yeah, certainly. And the one thing that I didn't want to do is to encourage people just to overeat for the sake of it. It was purely a demonstration of the fact that different foods can affect us in different ways, and the way that a lean individual can do that is by intentionally overeating, and showing the different effects from the same calorie surplus. And so I always try to kind of say I'm not encouraging people to overeat for the sake of it, but it was just a demonstration of the fact that different foods affect us in different ways. But listen to your body. If you don't feel hungry, then don't eat, essentially, any time of day, right. Essentially, because I only eat 2 meals a day. My breakfast is usually at around midday, and then I have an evening meal as well. And
you're not eating the trifle every day. I just picture you eating this bowl of meat, eggs, cheese, and almonds.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that happens from time to time, just for fun.
I mean, you eat that, and then you don't have to eat for 2-3 days after, right?
You wouldn't have to eat for that week. That's a good idea. Could just really go for it on intermittent fasting, but eat copious amounts of foods in between.
I just wanted to finish off, with the trifle. So for anyone who hasn't seen the video, you basically sat down with this bowl, and I think you had ground beef on the bottom, eggs, brie cheese, and then almonds on top. And I love the Friends reference of Rachel's trifle, where she had the two recipes mixed together, and it was like a beef and then sweet dessert or something. Yeah,
that's right. So Joey ends up eating this trifle, and it has ground beef at the bottom, and then jam, and then custard on the top. And Joey's eating it. Everybody's looking at him really weird. He's like, beef good, jam good, custard good.
Yeah, jam good, custard good. Yeah, what's the problem? Oh, that's so true. I love that episode. But yeah, he was right. I mean, all the individual components are good. What's the problem? But yours was more savory, which is the traditional English trifle.
No, not at all. A traditional English trifle is certainly a sweet one. But I was for a low carb low carb, low carb friendly trifle essentially.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it was about 5,000 calories, and you watched a movie, and you tried to eat it within a couple hours, and it was quite a struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely saw how much you can put back, because that amount of nutrient density, it's not just the calories, but all those foods have extremely bioavailable protein, amino acids, healthy fats, all the things that your body really needs. So I'm curious, how long after did it take you to even get hungry
Oh
again?
gosh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't eat for maybe a couple of days, because it really sets you back in terms of your satiation.
Yeah,
It's just, as you
yeah.
say, it's such a hit of nutrient dense foods that it's hitting all of the points that you need in order to feel satisfied, and it did that for a long time for sure.
So now your diet, would you say it's basically still obviously low carb? You said you kind of eat a couple times a day, and you follow similar philosophy of, just avoiding sugar and
Yeah,
grains.
essentially. I almost eat the same thing every day, which is just
Yeah.
because I'm a very simplistic kind of guy, and it's generally fried eggs with cheese and ham for my breakfast. And then I occasionally have a snack in afternoons. And what I sometimes do for a snack is that I fry up some sunflower seeds in butter, and then put a little bit of curry powder on them, just to make them a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit spicy, and some salt on there as well. And then in the evening, that's probably my most varied meal. It ranges from kind of like a ground beef based meal that's kind of got cauliflower rice and tomato passata in there. Any kind of low carb vegetables really, to whether it be a steak or pork chops, again with a little bit of veg, slathered in butter for the most part. And then I usually have some full fat yogurt, and sometimes I'll put in some nut butter with that as well, or sometimes I put in 100% cocoa powder as well, because like 100% unsweetened cocoa powder is also very nutrient dense as well, and it's tasty as well,
Yes.
in something like full fat yogurt. So
Now, what is something that you wish you had known when you first started out that you've learned over the years of doing low carb?
hmm. um, something that I've learned since starting, or just
Especially if it's something that would be helpful for someone who's
yeah.
brand new to keto or low
Right.
carb.
I think for somebody that's just starting out, I think be prepared. I think have snacks ready, because just foods available, non-perishable foods really, kind of things like nuts and stuff like that you can keep in your bag just in case you start to feel hungry and you have a craving, for instance. So, if you're starting out on a low carb, real food diet, when you've been on a low fat, fake food diet for a long time, then you're still going to get these cravings for whether it be soda or chocolate bar or whatever you used to eat. And so having something like, some nuts at the ready to try and satiate yourself first before giving in to the craving, I think is probably one of the most important things when starting out. In an ideal world, you just kind of push through the craving, but not all of us have amazing willpower. So it's best just to kind of, take something on board like some nuts or some cheese or something like that, just to kind of satiate yourself until the craving passes, really. So that's what I'd really recommend. And then also be prepared to feel, some people get the low carb flu for a few weeks. Some people are really lucky, don't feel, well, most people actually don't get that bad a low carb flu, but some people it can hit them really hard. And so if that does happen, try and just keep on pushing through. Make sure you drink plenty of water, and make sure you get plenty of salt on board during that time. And yeah, once you kind of come out the other side, like within 2 or 3 weeks, then you're going to feel so much better, and the things just get better and better from then.
Yeah, those are really great tips. And I find that for most people with keto flu or any feelings of fatigue, it's just a lack of electrolytes. And adding that salt is something that we have to push ourselves to do, barring always check with your doctor if you have, you're on medication or you have different electrolyte requirements. But for most people who are not on medication or perfectly healthy, it's hard to add salt to things because we've been conditioned to remove it and avoid it. And you have to get past this, feeling of salt's bad for me. And that's the biggest factor, I think, in like lethargy or feeling really off when you're transitioning. And it makes a huge difference just adding 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt to your food.
Definitely. Day. And what's really interesting actually is that my wife is French, and so when she was starting out, like she adds salt to everything anyway. Because they eat copious amounts of salt in France. Like, she can tell if I haven't put in as much salt as she would in a meal, for instance. I'm like straight away like that. It's like solid. But it's really interesting that I think particularly the UK and the US have this problem with salt. And I think that is, as you say, because it's been drummed into us since we were children that you should not have salt. And it's like, well, it's an essential nutrient, so we probably should have it. Which is the crazy thing, isn't it? Is that the things that we're told to restrict are the essential nutrients. Protein, fat, and salt. Those are some essential nutrients, and we're told to restrict them. It's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it is, and it's no wonder that we're in the state we're in. I have some fast, rapid-fire questions for you just as we finish off here. Now, what's your favorite go-to order when you eat out?
Steak. Just straight up. I just like if I'm having trouble navigating a menu, I'll just have a steak. I mean, it's fairly easy in the UK now to eat low carb, because you can at any burger place, a gourmet burger place, you can just ask for it without the bun, and then have the chips or the French fries, replaced with salad. Or some places even do courgette French fries, actually. So that's really helpful.
That's awesome. So my next question was salad or steak. So we know the answer to that one.
Yeah, I'm going steak.
Fasting or no fasting?
I fast, certainly. As I say, I do. I usually eat 2 meals a day, and so for the most part, I'm fasting from about 7 o'clock until midday the next day. So approximately, what's that, 17 hours? Around about 17 hours a day that I'm fasting, that type of time. And sometimes I'll do a 24-hour fast, just because I'm not feeling particularly hungry, and I just think, okay, well, I don't need to eat. And with 24-hour fast, I feel like better after having done that, kind of listening to my body.
Yeah, it's amazing when you start tuning in and realizing that your body will tell you, like, if it gets hungry, when you're really feeding it nutrient-dense foods. You don't have to worry that it's not going to let you know, or, that you're going to starve or something. When the more and more you tune in, it really is amazing. Now, testing or no testing?
I encourage people to test. Don't become obsessive about it. It's exceedingly helpful for people with metabolic conditions such as type 2 diabetes to test their blood glucose. I think that's paramount for that instant feedback that, when you do drop starch and sugar out of your diet, then your blood glucose goes down and it stays down. So that feedback is invaluable for people with type 2 diabetes for sustaining this style of diet. So I think testing is a good thing, but just make sure you don't become obsessive about it. If you do become obsessive about it, please do seek help.
Yeah, don't let it run your life. Just get data
Yes,
and feedback.
exactly.
Supplements or no supplements?
I think it's absolutely appropriate for some people to have supplements. I mean, you can get tested for nutrient deficiencies. The most common being vitamin D deficiencies, vitamin B12 deficiencies, magnesium deficiencies. Those are probably the most important ones to find out whether you've got deficiencies or not. Try to get as much from food as possible, but if you do have nutrient deficiencies, then it's absolutely applicable to you to have some supplementation.
Now, are you an advocate or silent follower?
I'm an advocate, definitely.
Yeah. Simply said. Grass-fed or grain-fed?
Grass-fed all the way. It's quite possibly the only way that we can heal the planet is through grass-fed farming, pastured farming. Mm-hmm. So grass-fed all the way.
Rare, medium rare, or well done?
I'm a rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I find it really interesting that the more rare the meat is, the more nutrients it seems to have in it too, which is really fascinating. It's even more satiating.
And again, that's my wife is like, basically bloody. And family, like if you ask in France for medium or well done, it's still going to have a little bit of blood in there. So
that's what I find so interesting. Hilarious. So I'm half British, half French, but Canadian, and now we're based in Prague. And I found here that if you order whatever you want it to be, you have to order sort of one above it, because they're always going to like veer towards more rare. It took me a while to learn at first. Now, possibility of ever eating high carb again in the future, possible or never?
Likely never. Never say never, but more than likely never.
Now, what is the best budget sort of 100-pound purchase or less that you've ever made, that sort of has helped you as like a biohacking tool or health tool or something that has, been a great investment for you in your health?
I don't really have that many bio-tracking tools or anything. I mean,
maybe it's just a really good steak.
What, sorry?
A really good steak.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, I think probably ground beef is probably the greatest purchase that you can make per 100 grams. I mean, it's and the fattier the better, and the fattier the cheaper as well, which is really interesting. It is. Over here, it's almost like half the price if you go for like the quote unquote full fat ground beef. Yeah, that's what I go for. And then I guess just getting a book that resonates with you as well probably is certainly helpful, and a recipe book that you can refer to. I mean, there's plenty of recipes online for people to scour, but sometimes it's just nice to kind of flick through a book. So there are plenty of cheap and wonderful cookbooks out there.
Yeah, it was actually my last question for you is, what is the best book that you sort of give away the most to people or recommend?
In terms of understanding how we got here and what we're doing, it's probably Dr. Zoe Harcum's The Obesity Epidemic. That's a really good book to understand the situation that we're in and how to overcome it. In terms of practical advice, I would recommend, it's been a long time since I've read kind of practical.
I think you mentioned Gary Taubes.
Yeah.
I know he's done a bunch of books, so that I would think that might be one that you've probably given out a lot.
Oh yeah, that's certainly one that I recommend. Also, is Gary Taubes' Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It. It's a lot smaller than his first one, Good Calories, Bad Calories. So unless you're willing to read a 500-page tome, which is good calories, bad calories, then a couple of 100 pages of a small book, you're better off with Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It. And there's practical advice in there from Dr. Eric Westman as well. So that's certainly
It's awesome.
a good one.
Love him. Well, I really want to commend you on the work that you're doing. Every time I'm in the UK, I find it hard even just to find a condiment in a store that doesn't have added sugar to it. And I know there's a lot of work to be done at the policy level. And I know that your event, is making real change happen. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. And where can people find out more about the event and sort of the speaker list and how they can get tickets?
Great, yeah. So if people go to the website, which is phcuk.org/conference, that takes you straight to the conference page where you can see all of our speakers, who include Professor Robert Lustig from California. We're flying him in. And we've also got Dr. Zoe Harkin, who I mentioned earlier. And then one of the highlights is the deputy leader of the Labour Party over here, which is the largest political party over here. They're not currently in government, but, in power. But, they're the largest political party over here, Tom Watson. And Tom's had a really interesting transformation, because he used to be very overweight, but he's lost... I think it's about in the region of 60 kilograms maybe. And maybe just over 100 pounds that he's lost. And he has put his type 2 diabetes into remission through a low-carb, real food diet. So he's very supportive of what we're trying to achieve, and understands the science, the logic and the reasoning behind all of this. And, once Brexit's out of the way, then he's keen to help as much as he can. I mean, he's trying to help as much as he can right now, but obviously he's a little bit busy at the moment. It's going to be absolutely amazing. The real food lunch is included, and we have a evening networking dinner on the Saturday as well, because it's over a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 11th, 12th of May, in a couple of weeks' time.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, I know it's going to be another great event, and I hope it goes according to your vision. And thank you so much for being here today and sharing all your food experiments with us and all your experience and knowledge. It's been a pleasure having you, Sam.
Not a problem. Been a pleasure.
All right, guys, thank you so much for being here today and tuning in. I would like to invite you to check out the 20-day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. A lot of the things that we talked about on today's episode, I find are really solved by doing a ketogenic meal plan like the one that I designed, the 20-day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. And a lot of that comes down to having someone already calculate everything for you, having the macros all dialed in for you, having this meal plan with all the portions already outlined for you. It really helps address a lot of the portion control issues, and having everything calculated already really helps with preparation and doing batch prep. A lot of people on the challenge will pick out a day, say on Saturday or Sunday, and they'll meal prep ahead for the week, and they'll pick 2 or 3 days from the plan that they love, and they'll repeat it, such as day 5, which has the burger with my special keto burger sauce, and repeat that. And you can do that as many times as you like, and it really makes preparation and following keto and the meal plans a lot easier, and doing that batch prepping and meal prep on the weekend. And the meal plans also come with a shopping list. They come with a full guide to testing yourself for ketosis. And the best part is they include my support and coaching in our members Facebook group, which is an awesome community. I love being in there, and it really helps so much having other people doing this program with you and alongside, and people who've done it already and successfully reached their goals, there to inspire you and to support you. And having that community built in is so important. Our success rates go way, way up when we're doing any kind of diet or lifestyle change, when we have a buddy. And I'm here to be your buddy, to be your guide, and help you with your journey, because you can post any questions that you have about keto, about the meal plans, about low carb, and I am there to answer your questions and to support you as you go. And I just think it makes such a big difference to have a coach and a support group and a supportive community around you. So check out the 20-day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. Just a word of caution, there is another 20-day keto challenge that's being sold. It is not mine. I only sell my program from ketogenicgirl.com. So if you see a link to that, it's a copycat version that has kind of popped up in the last year. It also has a similar name, 20-day Ketogenic Challenge. But if you are looking for my program, which comes with my support and coaching, you can only get it from ketogenicgirl.com, and make sure that you are purchasing the one from me, because I have some people who have purchased this other program thinking that it's my program, and the coaching and support is not included because it's not the program that I formulated and that has had so much success. If you want to read and check out some of the success stories, you can go to ketogenicgirl.com and click on testimonials and reviews or success stories, and you can read some of the dozens and dozens of success stories of people who have done the challenge. And if you join the program, you'll get to interact with so many of those people in the group who've had real success and are there to share tips and tricks for making all of this so much easier and so much fun. So check out the 20-day Ketogenic Girl Challenge at ketogenicgirl.com. And until the next episode, I hope you have a fat-fueled rest of your day. A few disclaimers. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice, as I am not a qualified healthcare provider. The information presented on this podcast is for educational purposes only. Ketogenic Girl is not qualified to provide medical advice. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to this podcast. Prior to beginning a ketogenic diet, you should undergo a full health screening with your physician to confirm that a keto diet is suitable for you and to rule out any conditions or contraindications that may pose risk or that are incompatible with the ketogenic diet. A keto diet may or may not be appropriate for you if you have any kind of health condition, whether known to you or unknown, so you must consult your physician to find this out. Anyone under the age of 18 should consult with their physician and their parents or legal guardian.